We're going to be looking at 5 realistic targets for free agency for the Indiana Fever. We are working under the assumption that these 3 are coming back. Lexi's coming back. Sophie's coming back. That is the assumption that I'm working with, because if Kelsey goes, then clearly
operating under assumptions. That's the real nightmare Indiana Fever fans should be worried about. While everyone's busy debating whether Kelsey Mitchell will return or move on, a much bigger issue is flying under the radar. What if the Fever completely waste Caitlin Clark's rookie contract by doubling down on the wrong roster pieces? This team can't afford complacency. Backup centers and safe bets won't win championships, and if Indiana's misreads this moment, they risk squandering the most valuable window they'll ever have.
Player is a backup center. And I think Demiris Dantas' time at the Fever is probably done. I don't see Dantas playing with the Fever again, if I'm being honest. I think Bree Turner's not good enough. I just think in general, Bree Turner's not good enough. So for me,
Elizabeth Williams is now 33, coming off a rough season in Chicago where everything fell apart. But here's what the box score doesn't show. Angel Reese's defensive impact was actually stronger when Williams shared the floor with her compared to when Camila Cardoso was out there. Williams finished the year shooting nearly 50% from the field and brought the kind of veteran stability that locker room badly needed. The debate isn't whether she can anchor a second unit, she can. The real question is whether Indiana can sign her near the veteran minimum after Chicago's collapse cratered her market value. If they can, this could quietly become one of the smartest offseason pickups in the league.
This would be one of my things where I'm like, I don't hate the Fever doing this, but I don't see them doing it. So the Indiana Fever had a player a couple of years ago that is the perfect player, a much better version of Tasha Howard. But it will cost quite a lot of money to keep her, and it's Temi. I still think Temi is the perfect power forward to play beside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. We saw it. The lineup of Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hull, Temi, Aaliyah, and
just 2 seasons ago, a lineup featuring Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hull, Temi Fagbenel, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell graded out as the most efficient 5-player unit in the entire league. And what did the Fever do? They let Temi walk. She landed in Golden State, refined her jumper, stayed healthy, and became exactly the stretch forward Indiana has been searching for ever since. Now she's entering restricted free agency. The Valkyries are an expansion team trying to keep their core together on a tight budget, while Indiana finally has real cap flexibility. The math is simple. What's complicated is the front office admitting they made a mistake by letting her leave in the first place.
Weird feeling if they flame out on their A option. Natasha Howard on a near max contract is coming back, and I don't think you have a championship. I don't think you can win a championship with Natasha Howard starting and Michaela Timpson as her backup. I don't think you can win a championship with that, because there are too many games. Natasha Howard is either brilliant or absolutely terrible. And the problem is that Natasha Howard does not play well with Caitlin Clark. So if the Fever are planning on winning with Caitlin...
Here's the part nobody wants to admit about Natasha Cloud. She just doesn't mesh with Caitlin Clark on the floor. The data is clear. When they play together, spacing shrinks, rotations break down, and the offense stalls. Cloud swings between spectacular and disastrous, with no consistent middle ground. If Indiana is truly serious about optimizing Clark's game, giving Cloud anything close to max money simply doesn't make sense. But if the Fever strike out on top-tier free agents, there's a real risk they talk themselves into running it back. And that's exactly how championship windows close before they ever truly open.
Either of them can slide in. Aaliyah can slide in about the 4 if she gets the 3 ball. Temi can slide in the 4, obviously. And then Sophie can slide up to the 4. So for me, that's your perfect rotation. Then you've got KK Timpson as a player. I'm absolutely fine with those 5 players sharing the 4-5. But it's going to cost quite a bit to get Temi out of Golden State. I do think in general that that Golden State, because they have to keep basically their whole team. Almost their entire team are free agents. So it's not going to be hard to it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy to keep all their players.
Poaching Temi Fagbenel from Golden State would cost Indiana roughly 3/4 of a max contract, a hefty price tag for a player who wore a Fever jersey just 2 years ago. But compare that to the alternative. Miss on Temi, and suddenly Natasha Cloud returns, the same backup rotation stays intact, and Indiana rolls out the same roster that exited in round 1. Now imagine the opposite, a frontcourt rotation of Elizabeth Williams, Temi Fagbenle, and Aaliyah Boston sharing the 4 and 5, with Christy Wallace as an emergency option. That's elite depth. That's a group that can actually compete physically with Las Vegas and New York. None of it happens unless Indiana spends aggressively right now while Caitlin Clark is still on her rookie deal.
Who had a disaster season for Chicago. An absolute disaster season. But it all depends on whether you believe that this is Beck Allen or whether you believe that the Chicago Sky is a shit show. I think it's the latter. I think Beck Allen as a bench option is unbelievable. Is absolutely unbelievable. I genuinely think that Beck Allen could be a 6th player of the year candidate. She can play the 4, she can play the 3. She shoots the shit out of the ball. And people don't realize that.
Last season, Rebecca Allen dropped 27 points in a must-win game against Dallas. Points Chicago absolutely could not have survived without. And what happened next? She was benched. Her minutes fluctuated wildly, and the Sky spiraled into chaos. But look at her resume. In Phoenix, she averaged 7.4 points per game, shot 36% from 3 and 42% overall. She started for a Connecticut Sun team that nearly reached the finals under Stephanie White, the same Stephanie White now coaching Indiana. Allen's jumper is pure. Leave her open and it's automatic. After the Chicago disaster tanked her value, she's now firmly in minimum deal territory with legitimate upside.
Like if you look at game logs, like there were games in Chicago, and that was the problem with her in Chicago was the inconsistency. But if you look at games at the start of the year, she had 7 against the Fever, 11-11, didn't do much in this game, but 13-7-8. Like that's nearly 10 points a game for starting the season. Then had a big lull and had 27 points in a win against Dallas in a win where all 27 of those points were pretty much needed. Had a good, an okay run for a few games. It was just an inconsistency from time.
Kennedy Burke quietly shot 41% from 3 and 46% from the field last season. One rough playoff stretch sent her market value crashing. With New York facing cap pressure, they won't be able to keep everyone. Burke may be the odd player out as they prioritize keeping Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. She's a true 3-and-D wing, a rare archetype in the WNBA. She defends positions 2 through 4, moves better than people expect, and gave Caitlin Clark real problems in their first meeting. Because her postseason slump hurt her value, Indiana could realistically land her at a bargain.
Izzy Harrison, they might have to pick and choose. If they want to keep Natasha Cloud, maybe they choose Izzy Harrison and say, you know what, we don't need Kennedy Burke. Kennedy Burke's not going to be cheap because I do think she brings a lot of value in that 3-and-D role, which is a weirdly uncommon archetype, and it's an archetype that you need. She's a better defender than Beck Allen. I'm not going to say she's a better.
Letitia Ami here brings pure energy every time she steps on the floor. She crashes the boards, runs the lanes, defends multiple positions, and creates chaos. Her shooting still needs refinement, but she's already a more versatile version of Michaela Onyenwere, with length, athleticism, and defensive switchability. The question is whether Golden State views her as part of their long-term plans. If Indiana can sign her on a budget deal, she becomes the perfect utility forward who can play positions 3 through 5, especially next to Caitlin Clark in transition. And this brings us to the bigger picture. Caitlin Clark will be on a rookie contract for the next 3 years. This is the championship window. This is when you stack talent while your generational superstar makes less than her true value. Elizabeth Williams is ideal veteran depth. Temi Fagbenle is the swing piece. If Golden State can't match, Indiana has to strike. If they miss, they pivot quickly to Kennedy Burke or Rebecca Allen. Smart front offices exploit moments like this. The alternative, running it back, trusting internal development, and hoping spacing and defensive issues magically disappear, isn't a plan. It's wishful thinking. Windows close faster than fans realize. 3 years. That's what Indiana has. So the question for the Fever's front office is simple. Are you trying to win a championship, Or are you content making the playoffs and exiting early? Because those are two very different goals.